When it was first said, God can do all things, Zoom had not been invented. Because the challenges of getting music over Zoom are seemingly insurmountable. Our next speaker, John Christian, and I have worked on it for hours. So what that means, the upside is that we are soon to be treated to what will sound like an a cappella version of John playing one of his songs. And we tested this morning, and it was haunting and beautiful. And in seemingly divine order, our next topic is Embodying Inner Light Consciousness from John Christian. John has distilled knowledge and experience gained from a diverse career in entertainment, coaching, and presenting into a formula for a happy and fulfilling life. John's individual approach brings joy and humor to every platform and environment in which he works, whether in business, management, life coaching, or his ongoing acting career. His positive communication and intuitive skills have all been developed and honed through extensive travel, and his teaching incorporates the best of Western and Eastern philosophy. Fundamentally, he is committed to nurturing the mind, body, and spirit. And John, in just a moment, when I step over and change the view, you will be up.
Thank you, Jack. That was the best introduction I've had this morning. Hi, everybody. I'm speaking to you from sunny Portugal. And my heart and my soul is with you. And it's so nice to see some of you again when we've traveled this journey together for so many years and sought to understand the embodiment of inner light consciousness. So for those of you that don't know me, just the way that my journey started, as with many children that I've worked with, and many adults too. As a child, all I knew was my awareness of there was a light. I live in this light of intelligent consciousness that was unconditionally loving me and breathing into me, but I had no concept of how to put that into thought or understanding. I just knew directly, as I just said, like many children that I've worked with. And I have a reminder of that every day now with a little boy that I have with me currently, who's 6 years old, who said to his mummy a while back, "Mummy, I've come to bring the light." So these situations help me to understand, as I have done over the years and with Paul's help and all of us who gather together, how does inner light consciousness work? Rather than just a mental concept of techniques and tools, how do I really get out of my head, get that knowledge into my body and bring it into my personal experience? So at the age of 7, I remember being so sensitive in that light that it was too painful for me to bear the insensitivity of other people. So like a dimmer switch, I decided to take that light and turn it down just so that I could survive and bear the sensitivity through my 5 physical senses, as opposed to the super spiritual source sense that we have the capacity to reach in at the top of the mountain. And so having closed that down, I literally spent 27 years of my life feeling like the light had gone out. I often jokingly say it was like living in a brain without light, truly. And then I went on a journey, as most of us do, of being indoctrinated into thinking. And the thinking process dulled my light even further, because I wasn't taught to think about feelings and what was going on inside my body. All the thoughts were externalized. If only I could have people's approval, if only I could be rich, if only I could be famous, and all of those false values that we're taught that externalize our energy from our inner source into the world. So having done that for 27 years and going through the pain of seeking fame and fortune, because I believe that's what I needed to be happy, and still attaining a certain amount of that and being alone with myself in dressing rooms after entertaining hundreds of people, and still going, so what now? What now? What next? What else can I get? to try and be happy, because none of it is ever enough. And by that point in my life, I'd encountered the Bee Gees, and I was under management to the Bee Gees' parents for 5 years. So I got to see fame and fortune at the highest level. And I got lots of lessons from my own inner light about values. And I'm still asking the same question of myself. Do I really want this? I see these people that have all of this, but are they really happy? Not really. They're still looking for more, the next hit record, more adoration. And it was that point in my life that I was invited by a friend to go and sit in a meditation group, all of which I thought was weird and only strange people did it. But I went along out of courtesy to a friend and a lot of resistance. And I sat down and closed my eyes, and I remember thinking, if you can't beat them, join them. And after a few moments having my eyes closed, I found myself both in and out of my body and back in the light of consciousness that I knew as a child and remembering. And the light was showing me, this is who you are. Remember who you really are. And everything you've been through until this point, at the age of 27, I was everything you've been through is just a forgetting. You just fell asleep. Your mind wandered away. It went out there seeking false values, all of which are stories that we've heard from Paul in Inner Light Consciousness. So from that process of awakening, falling asleep, and then seeking to understand, from that experience of enlightenment, personal enlightenment, I didn't have the wisdom. So the wisdom of Solomon, I didn't have. I didn't know how to put that all together in my own life. How do I take a mystical experience of my own nature and bring that into the marketplace of my everyday life, as Sharon was just saying from Gandhi? You know, how can it be that we are this light? How do we forget? How does that work? How did I see God, feel God, know it to be my true nature? And now I'm back in my body and I'm back with my personality, and my mind is going, where's it gone? How do I get back to it? And from asking those questions from my heart was when I encountered Paul through Findhorn, the community in Findhorn, where I'd heard that I arrived just after he'd given a talk about the planetary mystery schools, and it had set the place on fire, literally. Everybody was bouncing around going, oh man, this man that talked about the planetary mystery school and personal responsibility and taking responsibility for your every thought and your every feeling and understanding your beliefs and what works and what doesn't work and responsibility for your personal behavior. And I went, oh my God, it sounds like he really has the wisdom I need now to understand my own experience. So I said, where's he gone? And they said, well, he's gone to the Festival of Mind, Body, Spirit in London. So I took off and I encountered Paul there. And for me, when I heard him speak as a performer, I looked at this man, I went, oh my God, what a speaker. How he's reaching into us and picking us up and turning us inside out. Most people would cry. How he's touching our souls with this artistry of speaking with wisdom and knowledge and true personal understanding. So I knew not only was he a great performer, speaker, but he was also a man of great wisdom and knowledge. So from that moment on, I approached him and I asked him, you know, can I come to your training program? I went to my first Inner Light Consciousness training program in London, and I had experiences of going back into my own light because I went beyond my ego mind, because I felt so at peace. I felt so nurtured. Yes, excuse me. I wasn't expecting to hit these feelings again. I felt so nurtured by being with like-minded people for the first time in my life. Again, and realizing, oh God, all these years I fell asleep and I was thinking, oh God, I'm alone in this. It's like I'm alone with this journey. I have this experience and I'm still trying to find other people that even think about it or speak about it or want to know about it. So I relaxed. That's literally what happened in that program. I relaxed to the point that my senses expanded again beyond my normal five sense limitations, sense, perception, and I experienced the light in myself. I experienced that light of God coming through my own eyes into the eyes of others, and the light coming back. And I understood the saying that He will be seen in all places at one time. So I know that we're in a time when that's coming back, providing we take the personal responsibility that Source has given us through um, inner light consciousness teachings. So during that journey, every day, I wake up with the same kind of experience as Gandhi of, oh, 1 minute I'm John the personality, and the next minute I'm in this flow and I'm in this light. How do I live with that? How do I embody my own humanity on a daily basis? What do I do when I'm really challenged? Yeah, I do the things I've learned. That's the first most important thing. That when the mind is distracted, we're not thinking about breathing. So we don't reconnect with the spirit itself. So I learned through my, what the yogis call Kundalini experience, top of the mountain experience. I learned from that that the breath of life is our very breath itself. And if we're only living in our mind, we're not thinking of connecting mind, will, heart through the chakra system into the solar plexus, where we impregnate ourselves by our own free will effort to let God into the body, energy, vitality. So having understood that now, I do everything I can in my own personal life to keep my body in a good place of attunement. So my central nervous system is strong and healthy. When I make a mistake, I take responsibility for it, as Paul said, and I correct it as quickly as I can. So even at my age now, I'm 76 years old now, I'm doing here, I've got two master trainers here in Portugal for martial arts. One is for Muay Thai, which is Thai boxing, and the other one is Krav Maga. And the reason I do that is because martial artists that understand the inner light, they don't just practice because they want to fight. They know that the only person you're ever going to be in combat with is yourself. So I go and I train every day because I meet myself where I need to keep my mind sharper, my body fitter, breathing properly. And you push yourself to the point where you can hardly take another breath. And the master goes, go again. So you learn to take that breath and you learn to embody the breath of life, the energy, the vitality that is what I know Jesus actually taught. That was the most important thing he taught. And we see in the transfiguration and the resurrection, and the source said through Paul, the most important thing to do in your lifetime is build the body of light, not just the ego mind, because that's fleeting and it goes. To train the mind to build that light, to think in light, to feel in light, to breathe in light. And on the practical level, that means we have to do the things we least want to do. Exercise, pray, meditate, take responsibility for our thinking, the way we speak, the way we behave, what we do, and keep our mind in that innocent place that I get reminded of at the moment every day with this little boy that's with me, who's in that light. He hasn't been polluted by thinking yet to the point where his mind takes the energy away and he still sits with his innocence. And I'm just amazed every day by the peace and the presence of this little boy. He's so present and he's so with us, and he responds spontaneously to our needs around him. He knows when it's right to be quiet and right to be paying attention because he's listening with that bigger sense. So his mum says to me, oh God, how can we keep this alive in him? How do we protect him from this? And that's what the Fellowship of the Inner Light is, an organization to help people learn to do. So we as adults can pass that on to the children and have been doing so, like the book Feed My Little Lambs that Paul channeled. But we have to be the instrument. So every day I get a lesson from the little boy if my mind got distracted for that moment and I missed the place where he is. And he just saw I wasn't present in that moment. So I've understood through all those experiences every day in my life, that's how the light is speaking to us from in and around us in every moment of every day. So I call him a 6-year-old embodiment of the light that God has sent to help me continue my learning process. So here we are on this wonderful journey. And I was saying, Josh and I were saying earlier online, how blessed we are. How blessed we are. And in martial arts, we say, you know, there's only one battle, guess who it's with? There's only one enemy, guess who it is? And when you stop the battle, all you have is your energy returns to source, and you have peace of mind, peace of heart. You feel good in your own body. And in that moment, spontaneous knowledge comes to you and speaks through you, which is transcendent of the thinking mind. So we're actually in a place of active meditation, a life which is true meditation. That's what I've learned from working with so many groups in inner light consciousness and hearing so often, but how do you do it? Yes, I know those tools, I know those techniques, but how do you make your mind quiet? How do you shut it up? How do you find that place inside yourself? Even though I've got all this information, how do I get it from here into this body? It's so simple and it's so obvious when we understand how the consciousness operates in the body and how we can drive it. So I'm going to ask you to do something for me right now. And that is just put one hand on your chest and one hand on your tummies. And take a nice deep breath and just see if you breathe like this. So if you do, that's just a habit. And it means that you're only taking in a portion, if we use this terminology, you're only allowing God proportionately into your body. So you won't be thinking, getting the light of God in the brain as much as you're capable of. Now, I want you to put a hand on your tummy. I'll just stand for a moment. So this is what I say to the children. I'd like you to imagine you've just swallowed a big coloured balloon. And when you breathe in, the first thing to think about is you've got to relax. So instead of going like this, just tell those muscles and these shoulders, breathe in, but relax. Keep this relaxed. Now, when you've done that, now bring your mind to your tummy. This is where we get virginally pregnant with a new spirit or potential. And then as you breathe, relax down, think, I want to fill this beautiful balloon up with energy. And as you breathe in, relaxed, feel the tummy come out. And as you breathe out, feel the tummy sink in. Breathe out, in, tummy out. Breathe out, tummy in. Breathe in, tummy out. Breathe out, tummy in. And if you keep repeating that, what you'll find is the breath of life, God's breath, is coming into the body as it's meant to, because you are taking responsibility for guiding it there and allowing it into your body and making the correct effort to do so. When I share this with the children, they get it straight away. It's so easy. And I was sharing it with a little friend recently who has labeled autistic. And I was showing him how to do it, and he was doing his first theatre show. And he went backstage, and after rehearsals, he came out and he said, John, I told all the children, he said, I lined them all up at the back of the stage because they were all nervous and they're all breathing nervously. And I said, oh, look, here's how we can change that. relax, think. This is the mantra I gave him. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. So he taught that to the children, and they went out and they did their rehearsals in a nice, relaxed, more playful manner than they were prior to that, in self-consciousness and self-doubt and fear. I hope you're doing that with me there, and I hope you'll continue to practice that. If that wasn't your breathing practice, please keep breathing that, because that's how we build the light into the body. The more light there is in the solar plexus, obviously, the more energy there is to raise up through the chakra system to the pineal gland. And as the source rightly said, we're in a time when we must unify the two hemispheres of the brain. Now, what brain research has discovered is when we do that through meditative practices, by stilling and silencing the inner chatter, there's an arc of light, that's a biochemical arc of light released from the pineal gland, he who sees God face to face. And that arc of light comes from the back, just underneath the base of the spine there, and it comes to the top of the spine, to the third eye. So there's this arc of light that goes across, and then it goes from left to right, unifying the two hemispheres of the brain. When that happens, we experience transfiguration because the light comes in, because we're not splitting it into can I, can't I, as Paul said, the two thieves. I'd like to be peaceful, yeah, but I've got all these reasons why I can't. Oh, I'd like to be spiritual, yeah, but you know, I don't want to do that. Well, I'd really like to love you, but I remember what you did yesterday. So as long as all that chatter's there, that's the two thieves distracting us away from our inner light, stealing our energy. We're not embodying the light. We are allowing it to be spent and wasted in the world through false values and false seeking, even seeking God. We're looking outside of ourselves, not in ourselves, where, as we know from many readings, God is within us. We are the inner light. We are the Christos, ourself. How do we know that? Unless we do it in this instrument, unless we personally figure out, because we're so all the same, but so different, uniquely different. How do I personally figure out how to see my mind working with my mind's eye? Watch those thoughts and go, thank you very much, thoughts of temptation, but no thank you. I will not allow that energy to go in that direction. So I also teach that to the children. Just say, when there's a naughty thought comes into your mind, just say, thank you, but no thank you. Because we all know in our heart, the inner light says, don't think like that. Don't speak like that. Don't behave like that. And then because we don't do anything about it, we go back into the mind and we just carry on the same all over again. Again, the power of all of the teachings in inner light consciousness is to embody my energy. How do I bring my energy back into my body? By my own free will efforts, so that I experience I am a divine alchemist, creating a divine paradox. The divine paradox is I'm the light, and at the same time, I'm taking that light and I'm allowing it to just create any fantasy this untrained, undisciplined mind can come up with. And in the process of doing that, I'm not thinking about breathing. I'm not thinking about the inner light. I'm not thinking about how am I making myself feel in this moment. I'm not asking myself consciously, do I really want to be thinking like this? Do I really want to be feeling like this? Do I really want to speak and behave like that? Every time, if I was there to ask you this question in person, I would ask you to put your hand up and say, how many times would you have heard your inner voice say, no, of course not. Of course I don't want to think like that. Of course I don't want to feel like that. The lesson we set ourselves is how do I change myself and take responsibility for actually doing something about that inner voice, so that that becomes the voice that is in front of my life. And the energy is our inner light. Then the more we do that, our inner light shines through us, and the more peaceful we are, our life force energy flows in us first, through us, as if by grace. So we have a life of grace, even in the face of temptation. And right now, as we all know, there's a lot of temptations coming up to test us all. We are so blessed in the fellowship of the inner light to have these tools and have these teachings, providing we personalize them and not just leave them here as some nice philosophies, nice fairy stories from the past, or nice stories about somebody in history, but bring them into self and go, what does that really mean about me? If I am the light, why do I hide the light from myself? How do I do it? And I must understand that. And I must get on top of that. And I must, as the Bible says, to yourself be true, my real self, be true to myself and set myself free from my own self-created illusions, distractions, and temptations. I'd like to take some questions if anybody has any. But, okay, are there any questions?
Hey, John, it's Joshua
Yeah.
here.
Hi, Josh.
So-
How you doing?
Hey, buddy. So the young fellow you were talking about sounded
Yeah.
like a teacher for you. Am I?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And what can you tell us a little bit more about your relationship? Is this your son or a neighbor or what?
No. Well, yes, spiritually, if you like. No, I was recently in India, I think I mentioned, at a yoga ashram, and I take balloons because I used to be a children's entertainer. I know in India, you know, all the children love balloons wherever they are. But in India and in places like ashram, they don't get that kind of stuff. And a lot of the time, the parents are busy with the chanting and the yoga, and you know, and the child gets a bit bored or something. So I take balloons, and so I had this blue balloon in my pocket, and I see this little boy, and I blew it up and I just handed it towards him like that. And it was like the light went off. It expanded and filled the place. So that's how we became friends. And then every day he'd come to me and say, like, have you got another balloon? And then it spread around the ashram that I was the balloon man. So I gained this reputation of the balloon man. And Arian was there with his mummy. He's a single parent, and mummy was telling me in the short periods we had to talk with each other. You know, I'm going through a bit of a challenging time, as we all are now, especially as a single parent. You know, so I said, okay, well, you know, it's so nice to have you guys in my life because I haven't had my own children, my own family, and I feel so close to Arian. I understand him because I see and I feel um, as I was. He's still like that as a child. He hasn't lost that yet. So and we understood each other on that level, Arian and I, not on the language level because he speaks German. So I said, come to Portugal for a break. So that's where we're at the moment. They've come over and they're sharing my apartment with me here. And every day he's a teacher for mum and for his mum and for me, just by his sheer innocence of mind, which those of you that knew Tamerson who came to the fellowship, she was innocence on legs, you know, she was just, there was no ego there that would be attention seeking. So as much as I know here, and as much as I've learned in my body, it's that ongoing process. Like Gandhi said, every day I wake up and I have to warm this instrument up. I have to tune this mind in. I have to do my breathing practices. So I do breathing practices every morning, half an hour, to get my body in shape. And then if I'm going training martial arts, just to meet myself again face to face and create those sharper disciplines and get my breathing expanded even further, the body wakes up and it's heavy and it's lazy, and my mind goes, oh God, can I really go today? I've got 2 hours full on martial arts ahead of me. Can I really do it? And I just say to my body, come on, you know by now, when you go and do it, you always feel better after the first half an hour of warming up. And it goes, okay. So I drag it off to the gym, and every time I feel better. So for me, the measure of my own self-achievement is through those daily things in the marketplace and making the effort to stretch myself further. And the response I get, like the 2 masters have said to me at different times, one said to me, oh my God, he said, you're so strong. He said, I'm trying to get younger people than you to be strong like you are. But don't be so strong, be soft sometimes. The balance, and the other master also said to me, he said, John, it's like at your age, he said, I've got young kids that come here and they can't be bothered to make the effort. He said, you put them to shame, you turn up every day. And that's what I found. It's the turning up. It's the turning up to our inner light consciousness knowledge, and taking that into the marketplace, because we've prepared ourselves to know today my body is going to function like a human old thing, like Gandhi said. I've got to deal with John, that personality, all of its memories, all of its conditioning, and I've got to get that out and moving from myself. How do I best do that? If I'm relaxed, if I'm enjoying waking the body up, if I'm making it fun and pleasure, not and I often teach like that now. I say to people that come to the training programs, because having been an actor, or still being one, I use the body as a role. If your thinking is in that heavy place, your body immediately measures that, because the body is this super intelligent instrument that does whatever you ask it, the most predominant thought. So, why are we having to master ourselves? How do we do that? That's the divine paradox. I master myself by meeting that self in me energetically for the energy that it is, and I turn that energy back to source, give it back to source in whatever I have to do that, and what it takes, whatever it's going to cost me to do that. That's what I've learned through my experience so far with inner light consciousness. Is it's as powerful as the tools and the techniques are, it means nothing unless you practice to the point where you know what it means to you very personally, and you're applying the tools through personal experience. Otherwise, it's just another set of intellectual, excuse the French, but masturbation.
John, there's another question. This
Okay, great. Yeah.
came from somebody on chat
Okay.
asking, do you hear music in the air?
Not again, it depends on my attunement from moment to moment. When I'm really not in the way, when my mind is completely peaceful, absolutely all the time. And that's where, occasional songs come through. Taking one of my groups through the Himalayas a while back, this song just came, and I said to the person walking beside me, remember this for me. And it was, oh, sacred heart and love divine, lift up my eyes that my light may shine, peace may come and truth abide, as I find heaven right here inside. And that's where I was in that moment, and that's why it came. And that's, to me, that is the simple. When we're doing it, it's so simple, it's so obvious. When this mind is trained to let go and get out of the way, that's all. Yeah. So now, I guess the 15 minutes is coming up.
We got we got
go
time
on.
for we got time for another question or two.
Okay, cool. And one more thing, if I may.
So Annalee has got a question for you.
Okay, great.
Okay. Hi, John. I can't see you. But anyway, good to
Okay.
hear your voice. I loved your talk. And I loved it when, you talked about how you're in the light and then you go out and you get down into the ego again. And
Yeah.
then, or you get back to the light and then, you're ready to blow or something. And you say, what would I do this? How would I feel if I
Yes.
actually do this?
Yes.
And that's how you check yourself.
Yeah.
Do you ever have like your little boy or a
Do I
close
lose it?
friend that you think highly, highly, highly of, and they drop into that ego, or you've heard that they drop into that ego,
No.
and do you ever try to help with that, or other than just pray for them?
No, absolutely. In fact, it just happened this afternoon. Another little boy came to meet him. And so I went to shake hands with this little boy, and he immediately went into aggression and he wanted to hurt me. So there's a child that's already learned what Ariane has not yet. He's gentle. He doesn't do that to me. So here's another kid already that's being conditioned into, even when you just reach out to shake their hand, that hurts. That so hurts my soul when I feel that energy come from a child, when that child just created that because they're not being taught already how to use their mind and how keep it with their heart. So they don't do this ego matter thing. So I just responded to him in the opposite direction and diffused it. That's the whole principle of martial arts, yoga, life, full stop, is you diffuse the energy. That's why, the yin yang, when strength comes at you, you don't put strength against strength, you put softness. That's the real strength. And the same in our mind, same in our own personal body. That's the art. Good question. How are we doing? Was that okay, Emily? Did I answer your question?
Yes, John. Thank you very much. I can't imagine how difficult it is to kind of speak into space, but we're getting your energy. I hope you're getting ours. It was a beautiful song, and I thank you very much for all that you brought to us this morning.
Thank you, John.
Thanks all of you for continuing what you're doing there, and hopefully next year we'll all be able to be together. But the blessing is we're all still together in the one ocean of light. Have a great time there, and I'll be dropping in and out to see you. And I hope we can find a way where I can see the rest of you and hear you at some point.